What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be showing you guys how to install a wide body kit on an E92 BMW using the Streetfighter LA wide body kit.
Alright guys, we are back at the shop. Mickey and myself are going to be working on the BMW today, and as you can see, he already got started. We are taping the rear quarter panel, and that means only one thing.
Yeah, we're going to be running the Fighter LA E92 wide body. We're just taping this up so that we don't scratch the paint any worse than it already is.
Same thing we've done in every other car that we've wide body.
So the first thing we do is we tape up the fender with some blue painter's tape or anything else that you have that can stick to the car and take the contour of the body. The reason for doing this is to protect the paint underneath. Once you've test fitted the fender, you can make your line across the top of the fender so you know where it sits on the car. The next step is to mark the car where you're going to cut the fender so that you have tire clearance once your over fender goes on. I like to use a different colored tape or a marker to mark the fender where I want to cut it for fender clearance.
So Mickey, we just pulled this out, and it looks like, can't really see, it looks like a bullet hole, dude.
It is a bullet hole.
Right?
How though?
Look.
Is that ricochet?
Look at that.
Oh my god, it looks like a bullet hole.
Would it be like a bolt that launched out?
No way, dude. That looks like a bullet hole.
There's no way that's drilled, right? There's no
No, it's definitely punctured. There's no drill.
There's many different tools you can use to cut the fender. We like to use a body saw because it's clean and it's easy to control. You can also use an angle grinder or a bevy of other tools that are on the market.
Wide body kits, we always use a self topper because what it does is just allow us to drill the hole in the fiberglass and the panel.
A small hole.
Tiny hole on the fiberglass flare and the panel, and holds that in place at the same time.
And it marks the hole in the chassis so we know where we need to drill the hole bigger to put the nutsert for the final installation. So,
and it's also the same holes that the Clico's fitting in, right?
Right, a 3/16 hole. This is not the hardware we're using. This is basically just for trial fitting and fitment, and you can go off and on a bunch of times. When we get comfortable, we'll move to Clico's, and then from that stage, then we go on to the final work which is the nutserts.
Alright guys, so this is what I have done so far. I'm making everything out of cardboard and tape. Purpose of this is going to be our new wheel well. And then yeah, that's it. We still have the original cover that's going to cover all this, so we're just probably going to trim that up here. This is going to replace the part that the original wheel well cover cannot cover. Now it's time to do the other side. This is the template that I made for the wheel well for the BMW. This is the passenger side, and I'm gonna trace it, cut it in one piece, and try it on the driver's side, reverse, to see if it's same thing. If it's not, then I guess I'm gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. This was completely different.
It's different? It's not gonna fit?
No.
No?
Not the same.
What are you thinking, Ricky?
I'm thinking that cardboard is a lot more flexible than metal. Look good in cardboard. And metal is a pain. I'm almost there.
So it's looking good, but is it just difficult to mold it into position?
This is what's not looking good. This is supposed to be like this. So I can get it there. What I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna tack weld 4 or 5 inches or so, and then push it and then see if my sketch is right. If not, then I'm gonna have to just break off weld and adjust it so I can get it there.
Okay, while Ricky's working on boxing in the rear arches here, which he's made basically steel 18 gauge panels that weld in. He's working on the passenger side at the moment. I guess we did it on the 240 and we did it on, the Z, the 350Z. It seems to be a really nice way to finish it off without just pie cutting it and welding it.
Everything in gray is a metal thing that I did. And then I also put the wheel well cover. So it's completely sealed now. We haven't done the seam seal yet, but we did weld it all the way around. So the next thing to do on this side is just put seam seal and then use black paint to cover everything else and seal everything completely.
Want to explain what you're doing?
Oh, I'm just making the car lighter. I'm trying to go fast in this one. Speed holes. Oh, the reality is where these holes are in the trunk, there's really no way to access them to actually tighten the bolts down. So I'm actually drilling just some holes in the outside paneling so that we can basically stick a wrench through and tighten these down sufficiently so that the wing doesn't fly off. So make some holes. Moving on to the front, we went ahead and used a different type of tape method to protect the fender. This is a sort of a body tape that they make for body shops and technicians to keep from scratching the sides of cars while they're working on them. This actually worked really good because it's white and we can use a black marker on it. I went ahead and lined out the area where I wanted to cut out, and I like to try to take my time and make it nice and symmetrical. That way you do it once and be done with it. One thing that you'll probably find is that your front fenders are probably going to be metal or aluminum. The E92 happens to have plastic fenders, so these cut very easily with our body saw.
I just take the whole fender off.
I usually get the washer bottle out because that, as you can see, contours the shape of the wheel well. So to remove material, we have to take that out too and either figure out a way to modify it and put it back in so that the tire won't hit it, or just delete it. On my wagon, we just deleted it. The M3s actually have a cutout for the vent in the fender. So we could probably actually use an M3 version. I'm not 100%, but for now we're just gonna take it out. And if we can figure out a way to put one in, we'll put it back. Okay, so we got the over fender on the car. The manufacturers made it line up with the body line, which is pretty cool. It does have this rolled in look, and we're gonna obviously have to clearance a lot of our inner wheel well for that, but I've got it pulled out of the way for the time being. And now what we're running into is they've got a second piece. This is kind of like a fender cap or something that goes down here and basically caps off the factory side skirt. Now, mind you, we're dealing with a situation where I think what we're gonna end up doing is molding this piece to this piece. There's really no reason to have it as two parts. I think the reason they did this was because this basically, the mount for this is basically in here under the fender. But if this is one piece, we can just run our bolts just like this on this, and that will hold the side skirt into its location. And we don't need these mounts anymore. So I think I'm just gonna chop this front of this side skirt off. Ricky and I will mold this back onto here, so it's a one-piece fender, And then whenever we need to do service in the car, we can just pull this whole piece off, and that will allow us to disconnect the side skirt as well. Okay, well I got the end caps sort of fixed on. I used just Gorilla Tape on the back to hold them in place. And I went ahead and sanded them down using a 100 grit floppy disk, or sanding disc, I guess you call it. I just wanted to scuff up the areas where we're going to be putting the new fiberglass. So I went ahead and picked up some Bondo fiberglass resin, and we've got some Bondo fiberglass cloth that we're going to be using. I also picked up Bondo glass and Bondo filler so that we can finish this off properly, because we're going to go ahead and fill the outside, the little crease wherever we bond this together. So I'm going to get started by mixing up some fiberglass. We're going to lay down some cloth. I'll cut that with some scissors first, get some nice strips, and then mate these together. All right, well, as you can see, we laid the resin down over top of the chop material that we have here, or strand material. I'm gonna go ahead and let this harden. It takes 15-20 minutes for it to sort of set up. We can take a look at it closer and make sure that we've got the strength that we need. Otherwise, we need to mix up another batch of Bondo resin and hardener and basically put another layer over top of that. So far I'm happy with the way it's turning out. This is just the first layer. You can see the old seam where it was. And give it a few minutes here and we'll check back in.
A little later.
Okay, well my Bondo fiberglass is drying up. I'm gonna check in on Ricky over here because I hear him cutting and welding.
Yeah, man.
And grinding, and that can only mean one thing.
So pretty much did the same thing as the other side. I cut my panel into 3 pieces, and I'm just puzzling it back together. I got these 2 done already welded, and then I'm working on this side.
The centerpiece.
Pretty much gonna look like that.
So you're probably wondering why we have this material sticking out like this, and there's a reason for that. What is it, Ricky?
So the actual flare, the body kit that sits back here on the rear quarter panel actually goes out that much. So this is actually gonna cover the panel, preventing rocks and dirt to get stuck in the panel.
Right, so this is something that over the years that Ricky and I have been doing these wide bodies, one of the things we didn't like was that when you seal the fender, that's fine, that's great, and that's what you should do. But what ends up happening is we have to go back with plastic and fill all those gaps in after the fact and make like our own fender liner, which you guys have seen us do in previous builds. This one we're actually gonna make it out of metal. And then what we'll do is we'll prime that, and then we'll seam seal everything, and then we'll go back and actually probably rubberized undercoat the inside. That way it'll keep road noise down. It'll also keep all the rocks and debris, as Ricky said, out from underneath the fender flares once they're in. So you can see here, this goes straight up against the inner side of our fender flare and keeps everything sealed up. So I think that's good. And one of the things, if you don't run, a lot of guys don't run the moldings on the body kit here, the rubber molding. And if you don't run that, a lot of times if you don't have this sealed underneath, debris and road dirt will actually come through there when your car's clean and actually make like dirty spots on the side of your car. So with it sealed, it can't do that, which is a bonus.
I just took the thingy-malingis off. Yeah, we took that off.
The over fenders.
Yeah, and I'm gonna seam seal everything that I welded just to double check to make sure that everything's sealed. So I'm gonna put seam sealer in everything that I welded and maybe some other parts.
And I had an epic fail.
What did you do?
I put those fenders together.
Yeah.
And one of them fits awesome. The other one moved. And now has to be, I have to trim this, cut this out again because this thing shifted and is now fiberglassed in the wrong location. So not that it's in the wrong location, just that it doesn't fit snug against the body, and I don't like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it back off, clean it back up with a grinder, and then I'm gonna have to apply a little bit more fiberglass after I get it lined up properly.
Hey,
That was easy.
boom. All right, so we just apply the seam sealer all the way around where every weld was in the metal wheel well that I fabricated on both sides. So now we're gonna let it dry overnight, and then we will put the flares on it. For now, we're done with the back, and we are going to go to Mickey, see what he's doing in the front. All I gotta say is, hell of a job, Mickey. This.
I got lucky on one, so 50%.
Hey, 50 is better than no percent.
Yeah, we gotta do the other side.
This one fits really good. All the bolts were literally perfectly spot on still after you added that piece. Every single bolt fit right up, and it's straight, it's perfect. This one's ready to go. There he is, instead of working on his fiberglass fender. What are you doing now?
Sending a text about the cappuccinos.
Oh, carry on. You mean cappuccino?
All right, well, in order to ensure that we get this just right, Ricky and I have basically mounted the thing. We put a metal bracket behind here to hold this where we want it. You can see there's a pretty decent sized gap, but this allows us to actually get these body lines lined up with our side skirt. Different from the other side, we're actually gonna fiberglass this one from the outside to get started. So we're gonna scuff this up, lay some fiberglass on here, get it hardened, and then we can pop it off and do the backside real nice, and we'll grind the front down, and it'll be real nice and smooth and fit perfectly. I think this is the way to go. We got lucky on the passenger side, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It turned out perfect as far as I'm concerned. You know, 2 different sides, 2 different methods. We'll see how it goes.
All right, so Mickey's putting the very last fiberglass strip on this side with the nothing that we have of resin on the cup. And after this, we're gonna let it dry for about an hour or so. And then from there, we can take the fender off and we can start working on the other side.
A little later.
This fiberglass is all hardened up now. We waited about an hour, hour and a half, something like that. We can go ahead and remove this fender now from the car, and we'll start working on the backside. One thing we have to remember though is we don't want to build up the backside too much because we want it to lay flat against the car. So we're gonna go ahead and fill that in with some resin real nice and some fiberglass and get it so that it's nice and solid without building up a big layer on the backside. All right, well, we got this all glassed up. It's looking pretty good. Happy with the results so far, but unfortunately now we need to let this thing sit overnight and cure. We're gonna come back in the morning and I will Bondo the outside and then scuff this back down and we'll fire it on the car. Should fit perfect now.
The next day.
We are back and it is the next day. I'm gonna start sanding this down as flat as possible, and then we're gonna use some Bondo body filler to get this thing nice and smooth, and then we'll go from there.
All right, well, Ricky got us all sanded down here. I went ahead and also sanded down the backside. You can see it's still, well, I guess you can't really see, but it's still pretty transparent in our joint here. But he got it all knocked down, and we're retaining the shape of the fender here by getting rid of some of the fiberglass material that was building up on it. So now we'll go ahead and mix up some Bondo. We're gonna go ahead and use just regular Bondo body filler, mix it on our onion board here, and basically just spread it on, and then we'll go back and sand it down nice and smooth. And if we do it right, you shouldn't even be able to tell we made the modification.
All right, guys, so I'm gonna show you guys how to prep Bondo, since I need a little bit for our fender. You're gonna grab the Bondo, the body filler itself. You're gonna pour it on a flat surface. And from my experience, you guys see this spot? I usually pour between 1/2 and 3/4 of whatever layer I have of Bondo in hardener. If it's really cold weather, you can use a little bit more and it'll help you dry it that much quicker. If it's hot weather, like 90 degrees, I will use less. If you're in a hurry and you need this thing to dry right away, just mix everything together. Now, when you're mixing this, you need to make sure you don't create any air bubbles inside of it, because then it's gonna show when you pour it. I usually scrape the whole thing out, and then you see the difference? That's what's hiding inside of it. So you grab it again, keep doing that until it's one solid color. Just like that. Now you can pour in your fender.
Well, Ricky and I just got finished up with the body kit. As you can see, it's now off to the body shop where the boys are gonna have to work some magic with the rest of the fiberglass, make it all smooth and glassy for us. But the fitment, the hard part of the application of the kit to the car is done. We know that we're happy with the rear over fenders being sealed from the weather and elements, so we're really happy with the way this has turned out. Looks a little silly right now with these narrow wheels, but don't worry guys, we got plans. Huge shout out to our friends over at Bondo. The front fenders turned out great thanks to their products, and we couldn't be happier with the single piece setup. It really helps tie the front end together. So like, comment, subscribe guys. We'll see you in the next one.